the touchdown or you drop the touchdown.
And you are live, my man.
Excellent.
Johnny Mo, J-Mo, how you doing, buddy?
Man, can't complain, man. Above this earth, and I'm good.
Awesome, man. Well, everyone, welcome to the Real Estate Hack Factory, the think tank. Well, you may have different thoughts about that listening to the both of us or seeing the both of us here, but hey, we'll give it a shot. And if nothing else, you'll be mildly amused.
Meow.
Yeah, where's your cat? I heard your cat was perched on your shoulder the other day.
It was. The cat was totally jumped up and was here, and hopefully I get a break. The other one never does it. It's just this one in particular. It's hilarious.
What do you think? Does it think it's a parrot?
I don't know. I don't know if it even thinks. No, knows the sound of the treat bag, though, very well. Like me, I know the sound of the cookie bag.
There you go. Hey. Sounds good. You start salivating. Pavlov, huh?
Yes, sir. That's exactly what it is. Humans are Pavlovian.
Yeah, sure we are.
100%.
When you ever walk by that restaurant and you smell those French fries in there, it's like, man.
Or an Italian restaurant with the garlic blowing out the vent. It's like, I'm going in here to eat.
Yeah. Well, you know what's funny, and I want to talk about this before we get to talking about the ripple effect, the topic of the day. You know, I don't know about you up there in New Hampshire, but, you know, here in South Carolina, people are typically very mannerly. I don't know if you're familiar with that phrase, but they're nice. You walk down the street, complete strangers. They could be from out of town. They say hello, they nod, okay, and it's all good. And they like to have conversations at checkout lines and the whole thing, right? They're really nice. A lot of people wear those bow tie things, right? So what I've noticed is that now, because people are wearing face coverings, face masks, it's like they think they're back in their car where they can do shit and get away with it because you don't know who they are. I don't know if you've noticed that, but I have. And people have become extremely aggressive, rude, crude. You know, they'll walk in front of you, they'll drop things in front of you, they'll do things, you know, cut you off. You know, just because they have a mask on, it's like, hey, you can't tell who I really am. So I'm going to not worry about that. Just like when they're in the car, right?
That's their shadow working.
Yeah. It's their.
No, up here in New Hampshire, up here in New England, everybody's just always cold. I mean, it doesn't. I mean, when you find somebody that's nice or whatever, I mean, cordial, you know what I mean? But I'll stop and try to have conversations with people in the store, you know, waiting in line or whatever. And it's just like, they just look at me weird. So yeah, a lot of that. I mean, it happens, but it's when it happens, you notice it because it happens so infrequently, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, it's like the people that you know are
maybe it's me though.
You know, this is something else too. I mean, it just kind of ties into it. You know, you're driving to church, and everyone is polite as can be. They, you know, you're pulling into the parking lot. They'll stop for you. They'll move out of the way. They'll let you, you know, go ahead of them. Mm-hmm. And then when church lets out, it's like the bats out of hell. Everyone's just like, phew, and it's like, screw you, I'm cutting you off. You're not going. You're going wait and everything else. So it's funny how
that's your Sunday Christian.
Yeah, that's you know that's funny how all those things kind of tie together. But anyway, we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about the ripple effect.
The ripple effect, man. Yeah. And that can be taken so many different ways, and I didn't come up with this. I think it's a long-term old Buddhist kind of philosophy that you cast a pebble in, you know, and you see into a smooth body of water, and you see that ripple effect. Mm-hmm. And I take it to a different dimension, or I think about it differently because I am different. So I think about, I mean, we're all different. We all have different experiences. We can be we're both on this together live. We having a different experience each, right? So for me, what I try to tell people that I've trained and coached with is, you know, we'll go to the ripple effect in a minute. You have to look at what is your most productive activities. What are the most important? What are the most crucial things that you need to do every single day? We got 100. I know you got 100. I got 100. But what's the most important things going to make the biggest impact? Consider that the ripple. Yeah. So let's take a phone call, for an instance. A phone call is like throwing a rock into a moving river. It might be a badunk, and then it's gone. It's gone instantly.
Yeah.
That's a phone call. You make the phone call, boom, gone. So you got to have a lot of those thudunks. I'm talking cold calls, y'all. the dunks, right?
Right.
You're going to make a lot of those where if you make, and we're big on video, I know we are, and we should be because 80% of traffic is video. So you can have the 80%, I'll take the 20%, I'll take the 80. So a video on YouTube, a video that you put out can live on for theoretically forever.
Yeah.
And and why I wanted to talk about this was because I was talking to a couple people this week, different people about different things. And one had mentioned how after a year, they had somebody still reaching out to them to buy a property in the area that they served because of their video.
Yeah.
A year later, after update, that phone call, badunk, doesn't do that. Second of all, another person I talked to has a Facebook video. Oh, they have a Facebook funnel, if you would, and they're still getting calls and they're still getting tractions, and the numbers are still climbing because that particular video is the first in their funnel and it always runs. So that continues to do this. So that ripple keeps going. Where again, with that phone call, they've cast the dunk, it's done. Right. So just think about the ripple effect and think about the productivity that you're doing. This isn't brain science. When I started my sales career many, many years ago, there was a gentleman by the name of Tom Hopkins. You probably know Tom Hopkins, but a lot of new people haven't. Tom Hopkins was the master. He was famous at that time. And this is before any computer existed. 31 homes in 30 days. With all the technology now, he'd probably do 100 homes in 30 days, right? Yeah. But what he says is a phrase that has stuck with me for at least 25 or 30 years. I must do the most productive thing possible at any given moment, right? And that's the ripple. How can the more of these big ripples that I have going out, the more impact I'm going to have.
Yeah. And you have to keep throwing that rock, and hopefully it's not into a river, but it's into a pond. Mm-hmm. And that's what we call our databases, right? They're ponds. You pull people into them, put them out of them, depending on where they are in the process in the funnel. But to keep hitting them again and again and again, because a lot of people, they start their search sometimes 2 years in advance, especially if they're going to a new area, right? Mm-hmm. They want to
retirement's coming up, They're 50, they're 58, and they're like, we're retiring at 62. Where are we going to go? They're already looking.
Yeah.
I'm looking.
Well, you're not 62.
No, not yet. 80 more years before I get there.
There you go. But, that's it. You have to keep that touch going. That pebble, you have to keep throwing that in there and keep that ripple going, because if you don't, it'll just flatten out eventually and just become part of the pond again. And I know this sounds deep and metaphorical and all that crap, but that's really the best illustration, the visual, if you would, of doing that and keeping it going. And if you keep those waves going constantly, that's going to build momentum, and they're going to remember. And, you talked about, doing, the most important thing, in the very first part of your day, right? And for many, many years, back when I was a trainer, it was, do the most profitable thing first, because that really does have that ripple effect. Sure. Because once that's done, everyone gets paid, right? The attorneys get paid, the contractors get paid, the inspectors if they weren't already paid, the survey people, all those people get paid, and it just keeps spreading out, and it goes out throughout the community, but it also ripples to you as the broker or as the agent, where it builds your momentum as well, and that's a key part of this effect.
Yeah. It 100% is. And it's not, I hope we can get people to think outside of business at the same time. It's crucial inside of business, but the effect outside, just by being kind to somebody, just by being nice to somebody. I mean, this all leads up. If you're a community-centric professional like we are and like our industry is, and you're an ass, people are going to know you as an ass, and are people going to want to work with you? If people know you as a person of integrity, if people know you as honest, truthful, helping, contributive, they're going to want to work with you. So that's life's ripple. How can you be that person, always be thinking about actions and consequences?
Mm-hmm.
How can you be that person when the need arises, 5 people in a room will say, you need to call, right? That is the ripple. That is the result of a proper ripple effect. That is the results of proper reputation, of proper positioning, of proper contribution, of proper giving.
Mm-hmm.
I'm reading a book that a friend had asked me to read before he released it. He sees what I do and everything, and he said, I think this will be right up your alley. He interviewed 18 millionaires, self-made, no trust funds, people who have made millions of dollars, CEOs of companies, made people, self-made people. And they all come down to a handful of the same principles. Give, give, give. Then you look at books like The Go-Giver, and then you see, Big Red Franchise saying, come from contribution. And all these people are saying the same thing. Give. And that's giving is the ripple effect for your reputation, for what you're known for in a community. And a community doesn't necessarily, Charleston is a town, but Charleston itself, there's multiple communities within the community. And we all fit in somewhere, right? That community, your tribe, your followers, your people. There's 1 million people or so in Charleston and Charleston proper, right? Somewhere around there. You might be able to influence 1,000 or 2,000.
Mm-hmm.
Those are your people. And amongst that crew, what do they say about you, right? Because not everybody's going to say it about you. You want these people to know and say, if they were questioned randomly, oh, Keith, that guy is solid, integrity, absolutely, wouldn't lie, wouldn't screw you over, honest, hardworking, knows his stuff. Right. I'd rather have that than Keith. Yeah, man, stay away from him. I heard some horror stories about him. I heard he screwed somebody over on a transaction, little old lady, you know what I mean? And he forged her name or something like that. Those are ripples. So ripples are positive and they're negative. So it all is the action that you do causes that series of events, if you would. So be conscious of what you're doing and saying and what you're casting.
Yeah, well, it's that old adage, right? That bad news travels faster than good news, right? And
sure does.
And you could really, kind of put the kibosh on your career if you do something that's, going to affect your ripple negatively, right? Mm-hmm. So, that you can never get back. But on the other side, on the good side of the ripples, where you have to constantly be there and create new ripples and keep that momentum going so that those people do push you out. Those 1,000 or 2,000 people that they're telling their friends. And I forget that old commercial, but, there was, they tell 2 people and they tell 2 people and they tell 2 people and they tell 2 people. Now, when we're talking about Charleston, South Carolina, or just South Carolina in general, which is probably a little bit different than most states, but some states might be like this as well. You remember the Kevin Bacon thing, the 6 degrees of separation?
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, here in South Carolina, it's 2 degrees of separation. Every second person you meet knows someone that you know, and that's just the way it is. And I could tell you this factually, where I have driven to what we call the upstate, in the middle of nowhere, and looking at 1,800-acre parcels, and the seller comes out and meets my buyer, and they know each other. It's like, you got to be kidding me! How did you possibly know? Well, I used to work with his father 30 years ago, over here. I'm like, we're in the middle of nowhere. How did this happen? So
1,800 acres. What does 1,800 acres sell for?
That was about $2 million. Really? Something like that. Maybe that was maybe $3 million. Yeah.
Wow.
But
I would like a house right in the middle.
Yeah. Well, it had some really beautiful log cabins on it, and it had a big river going through it, so it had all kinds of features. But anyway, the point is that it just here, that ripple effect is, in my opinion, magnified because it's such a closely knit community. People know each other, right? And you get back to that mannerly thing we talked about, or I talked about in the beginning. It's like, that's the way it is. So, the issue really that people, I think, have to keep in mind, or the idea they have to keep in mind, is that they have to keep repeating that ripple constantly in order to keep pushing that message out.
I agree.
I
agree. You do. And that's done through many ways. You know what I mean? And if we break that down to our real estate stuff, it's the email, the newsletters, it's the follow-ups, it's the note cards, it's the videos online, right? It's that continual activity. It's going to that networking event, deepening those relationships over and over and over. There's been no realtor in the history of realtors that have ever did one phone call, sent one email, or did one video and retired wealthy. It doesn't work that way. It's consistent activity. And that's where coaching and stuff really will drive down. It really is the 1A word, accountability, which seems to be missing. And it's something that was touched on inside that book that I'm reading too, where all these successful people said people just don't have self-accountability. That's why they fail, or that's why they don't accomplish what they're looking to accomplish. It's the accountability. It's the consistency factor to do it over and over and over again, knowing, let's talk about your newsletter. You sent out 50 of them. You got you got a bunch of sales, you made some money, and now you just got another listing from it. Yeah. None of that would have happened if you sent it one time.
No, you're absolutely right. And it's funny, just to take a step back here, I wanted, do a shout out to Terry Brennan. He's a friend of mine, and he's watching the show right now, or at least it was a few minutes ago. This is his comment that he put up, because just last week I was out going to the supermarket and there was Terry. It was the same thing. It's at 2 degrees of separation. It's like, boom. And Terry's a real estate agent too. So we had a great chat for a bit. But anyway, sorry to interrupt you, and hopefully you didn't lose your train of thought. But there's a prime example. And not only did I run into him in the supermarket, now he's here watching us talk about the ripple effect.
Yep. And I'm going to say it like this, right? The thudunks. If you make 52 phone calls, you got 52 thudunks, right? Yeah. Thudunk. Don't get me wrong. The thudunk is pretty cool, and they will lead to something. I'm not saying don't do it. But if you send out that newsletter like you do week after week after week, same thing. You're throwing out one, badunk, right? You're throwing one out. Then now that's going to create multiple ripples, even if it's 3, 4, 5, 6, because it's going to live on. Plus, they're on YouTube, right? Some of these videos, market updates, are on your YouTube, so that's living on. Now, all of a sudden, 52 times 3 ripples is 150, 60 something ripples, right? This is why I don't do mortgages. It's 50 times 3 is 150 plus another 3, so 156. 156 ripples. 156 positive things out there happening is a lot better than 52. Right. So I look at that. What is the most productive thing possible that I can do? If you ask me right now, okay, you got to do your newsletter or you got to make some phone calls, I'm going to do the newsletter.
Yeah. No, I agree. And then, getting back to doing the most profitable thing first and how that causes a ripple effect, then you move into those other things that are the next money generating activities to do. Okay. You just don't stop at doing the first thing that's the most profitable. And usually the most profitable for most agents is it's a closing that day, right? So you make sure everything is there. The paperwork is done. The attorneys are happy. The buyer's happy. The seller's happy, right? But then you do the next thing that's going to cause the next closing, right? That's the most profitable next activity to do. And, people a lot of times like to get lazy, right? And there's no better way of saying it. They're like, oh man, I don't want to do a video. I don't want to do a newsletter. I'll just, I'll shuffle some papers around, maybe call a friend of mine or two, and look who's on Facebook, right? Let me chat with them and that kind of stuff. So, as you back up in that day, you have to keep those ripples going throughout your day. And, finally you can get to a point where you're only doing ripples, and the stuff that is not money making activity, okay, such as designing a brochure or designing a postcard, you can get someone to help you do all those things while you keep those ripples going. Okay.
In this day and age, two things I want to say on that. In this day and age, you don't even have to do it yourself, and B, do it at 7 o'clock at night when you're sitting there watching Dancing with the Stars or whatever is on TV. do productive. How do I used to say that? You do productive activities during productive time, and you do unproductive activities during unproductive time. It's complicated for me to remember, right? 9 to 5. If it's not making me money, I ain't doing it. I'll do it afterwards.
We've talked about this before too. How many agents, do we speak to on a daily basis that say, "Oh, I'm busy as hell. I am so busy." And it's like, really? Are you busy making money, or are you just shuffling papers around? What are you doing? Are you searching Facebook? What are you doing?
Often people, they have when they kind of have that, they haven't broke the salary mindset yet. Or the employee mindset, they find they stay busy. They finding things to be busy, right? So they stay busy. So they have an excuse that, oh, I'm so busy. You're so busy, but you sold one house in 3 months.
Yeah.
How, man? I always average 4 or 5. So explain to me. And I mean, I'm working half as much as you. How are you busy? They're
half as busy as you.
Being busy, where what you need to do is be productive.
Right.
And I didn't go to Thirsty Thursday. I didn't do 3/4 of what most other people do. You know what I did? Worked on my relations, followed up. Worked on my relationships, followed up. Worked on my relationships, followed up. This day and age, it's all about video. I got Nicole up in Ann Arbor. She's so excited about the traffic that she's getting on her video. She went out to shoot 3 today, unscripted. Just to get some footage and everything else like that. That is, to me, it's a busy activity, but it's also productive because you got to do video.
But ultimately, when those are done in a few days and they're put out there, and they get to spend behind them, they're causing ripples.
More ripples. Yeah.
More ripples. So you do have to do some of that busy work, but to me, that's busy work that will generate income for you.
Yes, it will.
And so you have to put the time in to do those productive things that are going to produce income.
Yeah.
But
now that video lives on, you've heard the term evergreen before, I'm sure. It's evergreen. It lives on. YouTube isn't just going to delete it. Facebook isn't just going to delete it. It gets added to a waterfall follow-up campaign and just keeps going.
Yeah, no, it's exactly that, and with all the hours, and we talked about this just before coming on and doing this powwow, there's 500 hours a minute per minute that are uploaded to YouTube.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's insane if you think about it. And it's not all real estate, obviously. But I'm curious. I'd love to know if they break it down. I'm sure they know how much of that is real estate related. But I would guess that probably 5-10% is maybe real estate related. Okay, maybe a little bit less, maybe 3.
Yeah.
But those are the people making ripples there, and what they're starting to see, what other agents are starting to see, is that the first people that started putting out videos years ago they kept it close to the vest. They didn't tell anyone because they were having success at doing it, right? And now they're looking at them and saying, wait a minute, man, this guy is closing, or this gal is closing, 50, 100 houses a year. And I don't see any other marketing than really video and maybe some, signs out there in people's yards. And
the thing is, the videos that they're doing aren't even about the real estate that they're selling. Right. It's all about contributive stuff. And they're all willing to share because they know 99% of people aren't going to do the work. Same thing with me. I'll share every secret with you because I know you ain't going to do it. For that small percent that is, congratulations. I'm not worried.
Yeah. Well, that's what this group is all about, is sharing those secrets from people like you, me, and all these other thought leaders and industry leaders that are part of this group and that are collaborators in the group, and they're sharing their videos and everything else. And again, that's the format here. This is video centric. Remember that this group is video centric. There's a reason. It wasn't just, hey, I think it would be cool to do that. There was some thought process that went into this. And if you go back to the group page and look at the history, Facebook, they have the transparency thing. You can see when it was started. I actually took that name almost a year ago, and really didn't start until just, I think it was January, February, right? With the group and starting to build the group. So I took it almost a year prior to starting. Mm-hmm. So there was intention there. It was intention because I knew where it was going and how things were going to go. And with my background and knowing so many of the other people in the industry, the other, thought leaders and those folks, and how much they shared with me, this, you've been on the speaking circuit, you've been out there, that, we all have an intent to help people succeed in their business.
For sure.
And that's what this, group is about. And this hopefully is causing a ripple that's going to keep you going in your business. Mm-hmm. So you can learn these hacks, tips, tricks, shortcuts, whatever you want to call them, that are going to help you do it, because, our landscape is it's filled with pitfalls. Okay. They're all over the place. Mm-hmm. And you can waste a lot of time and money if you don't know how to sidestep them, and how to use those hacks, and more importantly, when to use the hacks. Mm-hmm. Okay. That's what it comes down to. So, like I said, there was a lot of thought in making this a video centric group, and to get those people out there, for people, other agents, to hear us and see us and see the process in which it's done. Again, because this video is being recorded, it'll be broadcasted, it'll be spit out all over the place, and hopefully even the members, and I put this out on public groups, okay, not just this private group, but you don't have to be in the real estate business to, as you said a little while ago, it can apply to any business, and hopefully this will have that same effect. They'll get that thought process, and they'll be able to use their ripples to grow their business.
Yeah. And my final thought is, as we close this out, is I'm just going to simply say this. When we're recording this, it's 2020. When I got in the business, it was 2001, 2002, somewhere around there. I was just coming out of the network, the .com world as a network engineer. And I've watched the technology change over the past 18 years to make your job easier, to make a whole bunch of things. There's still 47 billion real estate agents out there licensed. Every one of your neighbors. But I really do think that every broker, every agent, more so, yes, the agents for sure, but I think brokers need to start thinking outside the box greatly. And they need to start thinking like what we're doing, you and I, creating a show, we're creating series, we're creating stuff like that. That's where, we come in and stuff like that and help do that. And I'm not pushing that. I'm just saying, you get it. You're thinking outside of the box, because you have to capture on social media. Attention is the currency. Yeah. Plain and simple. Attention is the currency. And by doing something different, by showcasing something different, by putting yourself out there, you're doing something different. You're capturing attention of the community. You're building a following. And what did I just say? It's currency.
Yep.
Attention is currency.
Yep. Well, I hope that everyone got something out of this little chat that we had, this little think tank, if you would. Reflect on it and then put it into action, and don't wait. And that's the other part. People will analyze until they're paralyzed, right? So don't just start making your ripples, make them in a positive way, get them out there, but follow them up. Keep doing it, keep pushing it, because it's one ripple. You may get lucky and get a deal out of it, but that's not what it's about. It's about building you and helping people along the way, right?
Oh, absolutely, man. The more people you help, and the more you're going to get. The
Yeah.
universe will reward you. But there also comes a point, and again, in that book, every one of these successful, uber successful people said the same thing. The real big growth for them came when they could help more people.
Yep.
And that's going doesn't really have anything to do with your business at that point. That's got everything to do with here.
Yeah.
And the more that we can have of that, the more enriched we are in everything else.
Yeah. Well, Johnny Mo, thanks so much again for your time, for your talent, for your wisdom. And I appreciate it. I learned something every time I chat with you. And I hope the folks that have tuned in or will watch this in the future also get something out of it. Everyone out there, stay safe, be good, and we'll see you guys next week right back here. Thank you, Johnny Mo. J Mo, we're out.